June 2013, Hong Kong, the Mira Hotel. In one hotel room, a 29-year-old American sits with a laptop. A man who has already understood this. Within a few hours, one of the most powerful intelligence systems in the world will learn that its secrets no longer belong to it. Within a few hours, the world will see, for the first time, the true scale of what had once been hidden behind classified stamps and closed offices. And what begins will not be just a scandal, it will be a global shock. The most dangerous thing in this story is not the leak itself. The most dangerous thing is who exactly did it. Not a man off the street, not a fanatic, not an outsider, but a man who grew up close to the state. A man for whom the American system was not some abstract thing from the news, but part of his home environment. He was born on June 21, 1983, in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Later, the family moved to Central Maryland, not far at all from NSA headquarters at Fort Meade. His father served in the United States Coast Guard. His mother worked at a federal court. In a family like that, people do not grow up with the feeling that the state is something foreign. In a family like that, the system is respected almost instinctively. As a child, he was not the kind of person people remember for charisma. He was a different type. Quiet, composed, too observant. He became interested in computers, games, and the structure of the digital world at an early age. According to recollections from his memoir, his interest in hacking appeared very early, and in school he was drawn more to systems and logic than to the usual academic path. He could seem like just a withdrawn guy, but inside, a mind was already taking shape, a mind that does not like surfaces. As a teenager, he did not move in a straight line. He fell out of the standard school trajectory, and the model of a normal career was not for him. Instead, he went deeper and deeper into computers, forums, digital culture, Japanese pop culture, and the online world. At 18, he was already working as a webmaster on a small project connected to Japanese anime artists. In 2005, he was already working as a security guard at the Center for Advanced Study of Language, a research center at the University of Maryland connected to the NSA. And by 2006, the CIA had already taken him in. Even though he did not have a classic elite education, he had something that, for structures like those, is sometimes more valuable than diplomas: real technical instinct. Then they moved him even higher: top secret clearance, work at the CIA. Then, in 2007, Geneva, diplomatic cover, network security. He saw how power is built, the kind of power that almost never shows itself fully. That is a very important point, because later the blow against the system would not be delivered by someone who hated it from a distance. It would be delivered by a man the system itself had allowed inside. Then love appeared in his life. Not loud, not public, not performative. Later, he would call her the love of his life. From open sources, it is known that by 2009, they were already together, that for some time they lived near Baltimore, and later in Hawaii, where he worked as an NSA contractor. And this is exactly where the darkest part of the story begins, because he does not receive just access. He receives visibility, scale, architecture. He sees surveillance programs that, in his view, had gone far beyond the limits of reason. He saw the documents, and documents change a person faster than ideas do. He kept rising, kept working, kept looking like a man of the system. And that was exactly his greatest mask. On the outside, a specialist. On the inside, a man in whom the fracture had already begun. In March of 2013, he moved to Booz Allen Hamilton in Hawaii. Later, he said that he made that move in order to gain access to additional top-secret materials. This was no longer impulse. This was calculation. And then he began reaching out to journalists. That is how Laura Poitras, Glenn Greenwald, and Ewan McCaskill enter the story. This was no longer the private doubt of a single employee. This was preparation for a detonation. Slow, precise, historic. And now let us return to that room in Hong Kong, because the man sitting there is no longer just a tech specialist, no longer just a former intelligence employee. Sitting there is a man who is about to split an era before the eyes of the world into before and after. In May of 2013, he took medical leave and flew to Hong Kong. At the beginning of June, journalists began publishing the materials. Among the first revelations were an order requiring Verizon to hand over the call metadata of millions of customers and the exposure of the PRISM program. From that moment on, the world could no longer pretend not to know how deeply government digital surveillance could reach. By June 14th, the United States had already charged him, including counts under the Espionage Act. After that, the hunt began, a real one, a state hunt, with the understanding that now the force against you is no longer a boss and no longer a corporation. The force against you is a superpower. Years later, a United States appellate court would rule that the program of mass collection of phone records revealed through those materials had been unlawful, and that intelligence officials who publicly defended it had not told the truth. That did not make the argument disappear, but it made the story heavier, deeper, more dangerous. Because the argument could no longer be reduced to a single phrase. He is just a traitor. The court itself confirmed that behind the disclosure stood a real, unlawful system. For some, he will remain a traitor forever. For others, he is the man who tore the mask off the age of mass surveillance. And now the main question. Who was this man? Who was sitting in that hotel room in Hong Kong, holding the files that shook the planet? The name of that man is Edward Snowden.